Also, hot off the presses yesterday is a new version of the threat model document. There's like 12 new pages in there, so lots of good stuff. Hi, Brent. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes to show up.
Hey, Sean. Good. Sounds great.
As we await others arriving, please consider whether you'd be willing to take notes for us as a scribe. Would really appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So we're getting close to the witching hour here. Again, asking for a scribe. It's going to be hard for me to do share, display screen, and take notes. We don't need blow by blow minutes, but we do need important topics captured, action items, etc. So work better if I turn my camera on and make faces at you while we decide if someone's willing to take notes.
And there's a handy dandy tool for it.
There is. There's a little link up there called Cody MD right up there on the top. You can get in there, just take notes. Other people will join you, I promise. Spelling mistakes are allowed. You can miss people's names. I'll fix it later.
I can give it a try, though. I'm not technical, so I'm.
If you can type, that's what I need. So
okay, I can type.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
all
all
we
the
gotta do. Get in there. Yeah, well, we'll learn as well.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much for volunteering. I guess we're going to get started. This is an official meeting of the IETF. I'm here. I thought that everybody was going to be here. I thought that we were going to also get Erica, but I'm not sure what happened. But anyways, we'll go on. Again, this is the note well. So this is the policies and procedures for the IETF. You should read these and get familiar with them. I guess probably the highlight of this one probably is the IPR stuff, and that comes down to if you know something, say something. If you don't participate, and that means be quiet. The note really well. This is all about treating everybody with respect. You don't have to love the person's idea, but you should really love the person. If you have any concerns about where you feel that you've not been treated appropriately, you can contact me, Deb, who's our AD, or the above people. Some meeting tips. Obviously, we're recording this. If you're not speaking, I guess I'd prefer that you stay on mute. You can turn your cameras on or off if you want. I usually turn mine off just because I might grab a snack or two. And it is recording, so whatever you do on camera is going to be recorded. All right. The agenda. This is going to be just like last time. We're going to go through the 3 documents we have and the GitHubs and go through any issues. Since I saw that we got a fresh threat model, I assume that we would start there and then we could move on to the other documents as appropriate. Again, we only have an hour. I know that Maggie, I assume that you've got some time that you're going to want to go through. Sadika and Brent, do you guys have anything that you want to talk about on your document?
There was just a note there, Sean, on "Are you speaking?" Did you see that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if you guys have, I want to make sure I don't give all the time to the threat model document. If you have something that you want to talk about, so
I think we have a little bit. Maggie,
Okay.
were you planning on? We met yesterday to kind of organize ourselves. Were you planning
Yeah,
on it today?
we have the first half of our presentations about the attacks section. That's mostly in the entirely in the threat model document right now. But then the second half of the presentation is about slides that we talked about yesterday. So we can that will kind of cover Brent, Sadiq, and I all worked on it.
awesome. I love the behind the scenes coordination. I will hand it over to you guys then.
Okay.
If you need to share screen, just you can ask to share the screen and I'll stop sharing my screen. Where is that? Let me stop sharing my screen. Where's my stop slides? All right, cool. So I
Okay, I'll
think
probably request for slides, Sean. I'll start with the attack section of the threat model document, and then I'll hand it over to Maggie.
you're going to need to speak up a little bit. I think you're a little faint for me.
Okay, is this better? Huh?
A little bit.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll start with the threat model document, the attack section, right, and then later hand it over to Maggie for the remote disablement part. So
I do see the slide request. Where do I press the button? Oh, hold on. Pass slide control. There we go. And I say yes. And there you go. It should be shared.
okay, maybe I'll just share my screen.
I see it's trying.
Okay, let me know if it's
It has arrived on my side at least.
Yeah, I can see it.
okay. Yeah. You can see the PPT, right? Just make sure.
Yep, we can see it. or I can see it at least.
Okay, great. So, hi, my name is Shailesh from Nokia. So, I'll be presenting on an update on the DULT threat model document. So, we just released another version today. So, specifically, I'll be talking on the attack section, and I'll hand it over to Maggie for the remote disablement. Okay. So we have a threat matrix in our document, which sort of is a structured way to kind of evaluate and prioritize different types of attacks, and that could undermine the DULT protocol. Right? And it helps us compare the threats based on the impact, likelihood, and different metrics like the risk level, net affected users, and mitigation, things like that. So I'll request everyone to kind of go through these threat metrics, and we have received very good feedback from the working group. We have made changes to it. We have modified the metric values, and I'll talk about that. But yeah, I'll probably request everyone to kind of review this and just to make sure that we have put the right values into the matrix. So this is one of the updates. So we've made one update to the threat matrix, which is we had feasibility as a separate category in the matrix. So Blend made a point that oh sorry, I think this was Maggie who made a point that we merged likelihood and feasibility into likelihood itself, right? Because they usually often map closely, and they have a one-to-one correlation. So in practice, we could typically use feasibility as the justification for the likelihood anyway. So we have done that. We have removed feasibility as a separate category, and this is not just an update of the threat matrix. It's the corresponding attack descriptions also changed because we used feasibility rather as a justification to the likelihood. So we have just one category likelihood, and like it also talks about the feasibility built in. So that is one of the updates in threat matrix. The second attack is we reduce the second update to the threat matrix is we reduce the impact of the attack.
Shailesh, sorry to interrupt. I think we can only see the we can't see the changing the slides. Maybe you're looking at presenter view and we're just seeing the title slide.
Okay. So Maggie, do you mind sharing? Maybe there's some problem from my end.
Yeah, I need to get the latest PowerPoint, but I can try.
Thank you.
All right, it seems to be trying. Oops, and it looks like me. Maybe no, she's back.
Maggie, are you able to share?
Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
So
yep.
yeah, I talked about this. So we basically merged, likelihood and feasibility into the likelihood category itself, right? And that was one of the updates to that metrics. Because in practice, both of them have like a one-to-one correlation. So we thought, we'll merge it. So can you go to the next slide? Yeah. Right. So we had an attack called deploying multiple tanks, and we had an impact high for that attack, right? And I think Brent made a point that we should consider reducing the impact because the impact actually depends on scale because we assumed massive tag deployments and put like a high impact, right? So uh, but for most realistic cases, it's probably the type deployment is less than 10 or something like that, right? So we thought the impact might only be moderate and not high. Right? So this is one of the updates we made to the threat metrics specifically for the attack deploying multiple times. Can you go to the next slide? Right. So there was one more attack called the remote advertisement monitoring. So we had again the impact as high, and there was a discussion, and then we also kind of reduced the impact to moderate or medium, right? So because if the tag is separated from the owner, then it doesn't necessarily track the person, right? Because um, the tracking tags typically rotate identifiers associated with the tag, but the interval depends on the context. So when it's uh, near to the owner, it's like you know just 15 to 30 minutes, but it's if it's not near, then it's 24 hours, right? So we thought in most cases we can consider it as a medium impact. The next slide. Okay. So we added a new attack for the account compromise. It's called abuse via victim's own tag. So the attacker could get access to the victim's account. So either through phishing or the password theft or whatever reasons it is. So the attacker could potentially track the owner's the victim's location itself. So, and the impact of this attack is high because it results in silent tracking with no alert mechanism, right? So the likelihood is medium because the account compromise is relatively a common occurrence, but it still requires some attacker effort or opportunity, right? And the overall risk is high because it could completely circumvent the core notification systems. So this is one of the new attacks that we added, since the previous interview session. Next slide. Okay, so we added one more attack, which is the impersonation attack. So, uh, it has two parts to it. So an attacker could pretend to be a real user's device, right? And in that case, the impact would be high because it could disrupt user safety or enable malicious tracking. And the likelihood is medium because it requires moderate technical effort and the overall risk is high. The second part of it is an attacker could pretend to be part of a crowdsourced network that collects and reports tracker locations. So the attacker could send fake location data or refuse to report tags. So it could basically trick users about where a tracker is or whether one exists at all. So the so these are the metrics for the device to network kind of impersonation attack. So the medium impact is because it could mislead but not directly control the tag, right? So that's why we've given a medium uh, impact to it. But yeah, so these are some of the updates from the attack section of it, and I'll probably hand it over to Maggie from here for taking it forward.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions before we move on to the next part?
I will note that in the chat, Mike said that he read the diffs and he agrees the analysis should be in the threat document, but some of this, I'm not sure which one should say that it's out of scope because it's something the IETF can't fix. I'm not sure, Mike, if you can come off of mute to clarify. He tried. Let's go on and we can circle back on the list.
Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the remote disablement implementation. So last time we talked about some scenarios and what the ideal case for remote disablement would be, but then there was some concern about particularly like the non-conformant device that could pose issues to what we were thinking about doing. And so this is going to get in a little more detail about what the actual implementation could look like. And this is a collaboration with Sadika and Brent as well. So just to review, the goal of remote disablement is that there could be scenarios where a tracker is very well hidden and cannot be physically located. And so in this scenario, despite receiving multiple alerts or maybe using the play sound, a victim might still not be able to locate a tag. So this is a rare occurrence, but it does happen. For example, a tag lost in a car, and then someone cannot find it and wind up selling their car rather than continue to drive it. And so this presentation is going to discuss the proposed implementation of the feature, so getting a little bit further into the details on it. So what we're proposing, and this is not in any of the documents yet, but we'll figure out where we would write it once we kind of hammer out the details, is that a tag may be disabled, so its location will no longer be crowdsourced if all the following conditions are met. So the first one is that the tag is away from its owner. So we already have a way to do that in the accessory protocol right now, the near owner bit. And then the second one is that a user has successfully triggered the play sound command. We picked 5 times. That number could be changed. And then if the accessory has a finding capability, that they've also tried to use the finding capability. And then also that the tag has been in range to the device that's trying to disable the tag for at least 10 minutes. And then in order to disable a tag, an opcode is sent to the tag using the non-owner device protocol. So this is the protocol that the accessory protocol describes. And then in terms of like what actually happens when a tag is disabled, the tag continues to advertise so that you can continue to try to find it, but it would set a specific bit to be, details to be determined that indicates that it's disabled, and so its location would not be used for crowdsourcing. So when a tag has been disabled, it can be re-enabled under any of the following conditions. So the first one is that the tag owner has connected to the tag or returned into range. So this is really intended to address a case where maybe it was a benign disablement. And as soon as the owner is back into range, the bit could be changed. The other one is when the tag has been power cycled for similar reasons. So if you have physical control of your tag, but someone else remotely disables it, if you power cycle the tag, it will also be re-enabled. And then the last one was a suggestion from Erica about, for example, if there's like a gender-based violence situation and a tag had been disabled by an abuser, if that could be overwritten by the crowdsourced network and if there was a valid court order. We wouldn't necessarily specify the legal details in the document, but that there could be other reasons why it could be re-enabled. And then when a tag is re-enabled, the user who disabled the tag is notified along with the last known location of the tag. We decided not to recommend a notification when to a user when their tag is disabled, because that could be a safety threat to the person who disabled the tag. So in terms of security considerations, the big one that came up last time was that a non-conformant device, so, kind of anything that has a Bluetooth transmitter, could transmit a remote disablement command without abiding by the requirements. And so therefore we picked requirements that can be enforceable by the tag to mitigate the impact. So if a tag is away from its owner, a tag knows where its owner is. That's already implemented. A tag also knows if the play the sound commands were successfully executed, and similarly, a tag can know if finding capabilities are executed. Kind of like the new thing that the protocol would have to accommodate is knowing that the tag is in range of a device, but that's also easily knowable. The other kind of big consideration is that there could be scenarios where an attacker attempts to remotely disable a tag in a scenario other than the target scenario. So, on the bus or at an airport. And so one of the things we spend a bunch of time talking about, what we want feedback on, of course, is that the remote disablement requirements should be sufficiently onerous to deter some sort of mass disablement event. So the first thing is that requiring the use of play sound or some sort of haptic equivalent should alert those nearby that someone is attempting to disable a tag. One thing we can't figure out how to do is to allow someone to stop a tag from being disabled. However, as I talked about on the previous slides, there are ways to re-enable the tag if it's like an erroneous or abusive disablement of the tag. For example, toggling Bluetooth or power cycling it to re-enable it. And I think kind of the key point to emphasize is that remote disablement is added redundancy. So if an attacker already has physical possession of a tag, they can still disable it manually. We're just making it easier for people to disable tags that are in their proximity. But we want to make it sufficiently difficult to do that so that the feature can't be abused for mass disablement of tags. So there's a couple things that we considered but aren't currently recommending. So it would be ideal to restrict remote disablement commands to tags that are suspected of unwanted location tracking. So for example, the command only gets sent if a tracking alert was received or if a tag was found on an active search for a tag. But this would require knowledge that can't be enforced by the tag. So the tag doesn't know necessarily that an unwanted tracking alert has triggered. That would require the device telling it that it has. And if a device is not conformant, then that wouldn't work. And then the other thing that we also considered was knowledge that a tag is moving with a device. So that would be basically knowing that the tag is traveling with you. But there's not really a great way to do that. We can kind of only get that available by proxy in certain, let's just say tags, not devices, certain tags with accelerometers, but that would require a lot of implementation and it wouldn't necessarily be feasible for all tags anyway. So our proposal is trying to be agnostic of these two situations. The last thing that we also considered but aren't currently recommending is some sort of snooze feature to temporarily remotely disable instead of non-timed disablement. Currently, we're basically using remote disablement that can be reversible by non-timed conditions. So for example, the tag owner is back in range. And the reason for that is if we only allowed the snooze case, then it would require someone to continuously have to disable it maybe once every 12 hours or 24 hours or whatever it is, which could cause undue stress. One possibility that we could consider is to allow for non-timed and timed remote disablement, basically allowing people to choose whether or not to permanently or until the other conditions are met, re-enable it, or have the snooze feature. But I don't think that it necessarily adds that much value to have a snooze feature versus just a semi-permanent disablement. So that is kind of our update on this, and I think any of the three of us would be happy to answer questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can see what everyone else is saying.
Please don't stop sharing your screen because I want to talk about the slides.
Okay, sure. I will go back. I just need to start the window so that I can actually see what other people are doing. Okay, here we go. There we go. I shared the window.
Could you go back, I believe, 2 slides from here?
Yes. Here.
One more, please.
Okay.
What is, I don't understand this third sub-bullet. The user successfully triggered the finding capabilities of the tag.
Oh, yeah. So some tags have like ultra wideband finding capabilities as like an additional way to try to find the tag. So if they have those abilities, we would want people to try to use them.
Okay. Does every device have ultra wideband capabilities? So that seems unfortunate. Because now you're saying that if I have a device which is old, I can't disable the tag remotely at all.
I said if available. So if they don't have, if it's not
Has the-
supported, then
No,
yeah.
the question is about my phone, not about the tag.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If available, like if it's not supported by the tag or by the device, then that
But the tag can't.
it wouldn't be
Tag
required.
can't enforce. But my point is, all the tag knows was ultra wide finding attempted, but has no idea whether my device has it or not. Right. So I don't understand how how is this enforceable against a non-conformant device? Like either you require ultra wide finding to be enabled or you do not. If you do require it, then anybody who has a phone that doesn't have ultra wideband cannot disable tags. If you do not require it, then it's not actually a requirement. This other, I don't actually know this next bullet. This may involve knowing more about Bluetooth than I know, but do tags ordinarily know what devices they're in range of? I assume they're just Bluetooth. I see Brent shaking his head. The tags are just Bluetooth beaconing, I think. So I don't think they even know what devices they're near, except for their own pair of device.
I think there could be some way to implement that, though, right? I mean, they're communicating with each other, right?
Well,
like
no, ordinarily or not. I mean, like as I understand. I mean, again, I'm not a Bluetooth expert, but as I understand it, you're trying to like minimize power. You're minimize power use from the tag, right? And so, like interacting with every Bluetooth thing in the local area consumes a fair amount of power, and so you don't do that. And so you interact with your own thing because you're trying to like stay paired with it. But if you have to interact with like every Bluetooth device within a 20-meter radius or whatever, suddenly you're like actually doing quite a bit more Bluetooth activity. So my understanding is I don't have any interaction at all with devices that are not paired with.
Okay, but let's say you have some sort of opcode that's like, oh, I want to remotely disable, right? Or you have some so the device sends some command to the tag, and then the device sends another command to the tag, some period of time later, right? So you won't have perfect information that it's connected exactly for those 10 minutes. But there's be some way where you could enforce it and you say, okay, well, if the device is continuing to send a command to the tag, then you know that you were at least in range in that, like at that time, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it's potentially enforceable. I do worry a little bit about it. I don't actually understand enough about the power consumption of these systems to know what the impact of this is going to be. Can you move? So anyway, I think this third thing is unenforceable. The fourth might be. Can you move to the next slide? Right. So I guess I don't quite understand what these things are trying, what these requirements are trying to do. Namely, why do I so I'm the attacker and I'm like in an airport and I want to basically break. I stand at the luggage. I stand like a baggage claim and I just want to break everybody's Bluetooth tag. Right? What do I care if they all beep? No one, they beep. So, I'm not quite sure why this is a useful enforcement mechanism. Why is it a deterrent mechanism? I understand the bit why when your owners can't remember disabled, but I don't understand the rest of it. Like they're gonna beep, okay?
So it depends on the scenario, right? So like if there's one scenario where like we're not really prioritizing the theft case, but I'm just going to use it as an example. If someone is trying to steal a tag, like steal a car or whatever, something that has a tag associated with it, and they're in an isolated location, and like you have to play a sound a bunch of times, then it won't have any positive impact, right? But for example, it's like what's the benefit of disabling a tag if like someone's near their own device anyway too, right? Like, so you can disable my tag, but I still know where my backpack is, right? So like the impact doesn't necessarily matter in either extreme direction. Like if I physically have my actual like device that my tag or my product or whatever that my tag is it and I'm actually near it, well then one, it probably shouldn't trigger anyway. And then if for some reason like Bluetooth is disconnected, like sometimes I get a ping on my AirPods from my partner, then like I still actually have my thing, and then I can just power cycle my Bluetooth and then everything's fine. And then the other extreme case, playing the sound doesn't really make a difference either. So it's really just a case where it's like a deterrent, but it's not going to stop someone from disabling the tag.
But I guess I don't understand why it's a deterrent. Like, what is the threat model under which it's a deterrent?
It doesn't deter someone from disabling the tag, but it alerts people nearby that someone's trying to do something to your tag.
Well, but I understand. Again, maybe I'm not understanding, but as I understand it, you're saying that the tag is in your owner, it can't be remotely disabled anyway, right? And I can tell where the tag's in your owner because it broadcasts a different beacon. So like, so if the rule is the tag can't be disabled when it's near the owner, then then I'm never gonna then.
Uh,
If the rule is the tag can never be disabled when it's near the owner, then there'll never be any circumstance. Then there won't be a circumstance when the owner is notified, right? So I agree that's an enforceable rule. What I'm saying is, in the case where the tag is not near the owner, like I say, like go back to my denial service example. So like I just want to basically brick every air tag in like an airport, right? And so I just stand at baggage claim and I just broadcast a beacon that says like disable tags, and all the tags start beeping like crazy. And 10 minutes later they're all disabled, right? But like it's not like you can't find me. I'm just standing there with a transmitter, right? Like with 100 other people. So I'm trying to understand what the situation is where the tags start beeping and then what? Like what's the next step after the tags start beeping that like actually is useful to deter somebody?
Yeah, this is one of the things we talked about. I think if it does beep, you can't stop someone from eventually disabling the tag, at least under the way we've currently designed it. I mean, if they satisfy all the requirements. But the idea is that there should be ways that the tag can be re-enabled. So like if you just had your Bluetooth off or something, you just turn your Bluetooth back on and it will come right back. Or if you have physical access to the tag, you can power cycle it and then it will also be re-enabled.
Sure, I understand. I'm arguing with this first bolt, not the next two. I agree the next two are sensible. I mean, though, I mean, I would observe that like that this next two does in fact the second bullet does in fact cut into a number of the adversarial scenarios, right? In that I plant a tag on somebody, but I see every day, and maybe they're disabled and I just re-enable it, right? So I think it does cut into it, but anyway, I guess I think I see Brett's in the queue, so I'm actually going to stop. But I think like I guess I'm just a little. Some of these things need some refinement to me.
all right, Brent, I think you're up.
I'm up. This is being kind of wonky on my end. People are vanishing and coming back. Can people hear me okay?
I can hear you, but I'm noticing the same people coming and going.
Great. Maggie, can you go back one slide? I'm not sure if it was 11, 12, 13, or 14, but if you can hear me, could you try 12? Okay, we talked about that one. Can you try 11? No, let's try 14. I'm sorry, I should have written down the slide number. Okay, let's go back to 13. And if I can't find the thing that I want to make a comment about, I'll step away.
What do you want to make a comment about? Maybe I can find the right slide.
Let's go to 10. So I lost it. I didn't write it down, and I was highly engaged in this, mentally engaged in the discussion with with Ecker. So I'll have to follow up, Maggie. It wasn't
Okay.
a big thing, so lost my
And just to
train of
follow up later about the play sound thing, I mean, I see Ecker's point in the sense that like it's not actually stopping playing the sound isn't actually stopping anyone from disabling the tag. It's in large part we're using that because it's a thing that's enforceable by the tag, and it's also a thing that a user legitimately would want to do to find a tag, assuming it's the benign case.
Right. And deterrent, I guess, it seems like that's maybe too strong of a word. It's maybe a mild deterrent for some people, but it's not a true deterrent. Okay, well, I'll get out of the line.
Okay, but I guess on that note, if the queue has actually been drained, so Maggie, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
I guess the next thing we have to figure out is just to make sure to review the ultra wideband thing. I think Ecker's probably right about that. It's the thing we could recommend, but it's not enforceable by the tag, unless there's some way. Yeah, I don't think it's enforceable by tag. But is where we want this to live, if we want it to live in the accessory protocol or in threat model.
Can I add a little to that, Maggie?
Yep.
So for something like ultra wideband based finding, the tag would know if the host has an ultra wideband chip, because to carry out a successful ultra wideband distance measurement, it's a back and forth between the tag's ultra wideband chip and the host device ultra wideband chip. So you could positively confirm that the tag could positively confirm that yes, this host has started a session with ultra wideband and that successful distance measurements have been generated between the tag and the host device. I'm not sure that's enough, but the tag would know all that. So the counterexample would be if the phone said, "Hey, I want to start ultra wideband," but it didn't have actual finding and it didn't have an ultra wideband chip in it, the tag would also know that too, because it would not have been able to carry out a successful ranging exchange with the host device.
So you're saying you think it is enforceable by the tag?
I think the ability to do ranging is, yep.
But can't a non-conformant device just simulate not having ultra wideband? I mean, in fact, I just make one that doesn't have ultra wideband, right?
Yeah.
So I think so. I just think that like I mean, like what like let's just take a step back. What is the point of this requirement in the first place, right? Like I think maybe like that's I think we got very dug into mechanisms, right? But I'm trying to understand like what the guiding principle is here, right? And like the point of the exercise here is that we want legitimate people who find tags nearby them they don't recognize to be able to disable them. And we want to make it difficult for attackers to disable tags that to disable tags that are other people's tags that I mean are like also following them. Unfortunately, is the problem, right? And a number of these mechanisms seem to be oriented towards like you've really tried to find it, but like the attacker can really try to find it too. And so I don't really understand how these cut between the attacker and the defender, right? Where the attacker in this case is the person trying to disable the system, the defender is the person trying to avoid being stalked. And so if we sort of go back to these, like the ones that seem to attempt to cut between them are ones that like for instance, in a number of these examples require it to be like not invisible. And I think we have to ask whether like, but not invisible being like other people can observe it's being disabled, or ones that require you to have like longer, longer contact with the device, so you can't just disable every tag you walk by as you walk down the street. Those seem to be the ones that try to cut between those. But I think like maybe it'd be worthwhile to step back from these particular mechanisms and ask, what are the actual properties that distinguish a defender who's being stalked from an attacker who's trying to disable the system? And is there any way to enforce those properties? Because I sort of feel like, and so, you know, maybe, as I say, having any noise, the hypothesis is the defender doesn't care if it makes noise, but because they've already been trying to find the thing, and the attacker does care because they don't want to do it surreptitiously, or the defender, if the thing isn't with you for more than 10 minutes, then probably you're not really being stalked. So what do you care? But I think maybe those are the places to push on this a little bit, because I feel like I don't really understand how the overriding makes a difference, because like, why can't the attacker just do the same thing? So I think like that maybe that's the place to try to like push on.
Sounds good to me. Maggie, do you like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think I have some of that in my head, but I think writing it down is useful.
I remember what I wanted to talk about earlier. Can we switch topics? Cool. You had Erica's comment from last time copied as the last sub-bullet in one of the earlier slides about the finding network disabling the tag. Do I have that right? Yeah, there it is. When directed by the crowdsourced network. So I wanted to ask a just quick charter scope question. So crowdsourcing networks, I think typically to me imply at least these types, a one-way network. Were we considering a two-way network in scope? Or a bidirectional communication network?
I'm not sure we cut it that fine in the charter.
Okay. That sounds great.
Right. Becker, are you back? Nope. All right, we got 11 minutes. Are we going on to the next topic? All right.
It's fine with me. I'll stop sharing.
All right, cool. Also for I've uploaded the slides, so you should be able to find them in the data tracker now. And Mike, I did send you an email on list about which one of the things your comments applied to, so I'd appreciate if you could respond. Thanks. All right, switching gears. So Brent, I think you're up, or Sadika, or she's not here. Oh, she's there. Sorry.
I don't think we have anything extra other than
Okay.
what Maggie already presented.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, feel free to coordinate beforehand amongst the authors of the various drafts. That's great. All right. So we have 10 minutes left. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add? I guess I could relay from the chat that Ecker said that the actual design of the two-way network communications seems quite difficult. So I think maybe we should shoot for low-hanging fruit first and then try to move on to anything else that would be more difficult. And Brent agrees. So yeah, it's weird. Yeah, you're back now, at least on my screen, Ecker. That's very weird today. Things are very flaky.
Minako needs a summer vacation.
Microphone's busted. He must have put that Ubuntu update up onto. All right. So I guess if that's it, if there's nothing else to talk about, we will call this meeting adjourned. Again, we have another meeting set up for a month from now. Feel free to use the list, get on GitHub. I will let you know that since I thought that this update of the threat model was fairly significant, there were a few people that offered to do reviews in Dublin. I reached out to at least one of them. I know Ecker obviously agreed to participate and has been all along. And at some point, I'll reach out to the other person and make sure that they engage more actively in getting a review of this document, because I believe the authors think that we're getting nearer the end. And so the plan was we'd spend a lot of time working on this document and then we would switch over and start seeing how to fix everything else.
And I think your notes taker overachieved, so you should thank him.
Oh, thanks, Corbin. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, Grace. Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.